Now joined in the studio by Dan Perry, international affairs analyst, former Europe editor for the Associated Press, managing partner at Thunder 11. Thanks for being with us, Dan, on this one. Big picture issue here, but looking at the other permanent members of the Security Council, okay, UK, US, France, China. I mean, the US specifically saying, look, there was nothing we can do about this right now. Does this whole incident or moment sort of highlight, the limits of the UN, the Security Council, in terms of its ability to have anything to do with containing Russia at this point?
Oh, the UN Security Council can't do anything to contain Russia because Russia itself can veto any such action. And certainly anyone interested in portraying the UN as somehow absurd will need look no further than the fact that the president, country that holds the presidency of the Security Council, is one whose leader has just been indicted for war crimes. The Security Council clearly is a bit of an anachronism. I mean, it reflects the power structure after World War II. And as a consequence of that, there's a punitive aspect in that Germany and Japan, two of the world's biggest economies who lost that war, are not represented, whereas the UK and France are. A far more logical Security Council would kick out the UK and France, replace them with the EU, and in a way punish the UK as such for Brexit, and bring in Brazil and India. There's other issues around this. What to do when a Security Council member is not even the president, just a rogue player on the world stage. But I would remind everyone that the Soviet Union was a founding member of the UN Security Council itself, was a member the day it was founded in 1945, and they soon went on to take over Eastern Europe effectively through various machinations. They were a rogue player long before Putin entered the scene.
I mean, the question now being, all right, there's nothing that can be done to prevent Russia from taking up the seat, but what can Russia then, if the UN can't do anything about Russia, what can Russia do with the UN? Is there, I know the role is mostly procedural, being the president of the UN Security Council, but Moscow's ambassador, just for reference here, has already said that they plan to oversee several debates, including on arms control. I think he discussed, quote unquote, a new world order that would replace the unipolar one, close quote. I mean, can damage be done from this seat or utilizing the UN by Russia's part?
The UN can't even change the order at the UN, much less in the world. I mean, they don't have any real power. The UN Security Council is seen as the most powerful body at the UN because they can authorize wars and they can authorize peacekeeping missions. They can authorize sanctions. They can declare them illegal. But none of that has practical effect unless other member countries of the UN agree to then go carry out that war. So, for example, the Iraq war was not authorized by the UN. Indeed, Kofi Annan at some point called it illegal. Did that matter? It did not matter. There was a coalition of the willing. The war in Afghanistan was authorized by the UN. Did that increase in any way the effectiveness of the war in Afghanistan that ended up in a total fiasco for the West some 20 years later? Of course it did not. So what Russia can do with the presidency is turn the Security Council into a bit of a circus by holding debates about how the U.S. is no longer going to be at the head of a unipolar world. That may well happen because of China, the emergence of China, but it won't be because Putin's emissary at the Security Council so ordained it. The presidency of the Security Council has the power to approve agendas, call meetings, influence debates, and so, as I say, if they want to turn it into an organ of Russian propaganda for the month that they have the presidency, they certainly can.
Look, in about a minute we have left on this, but look, there is a very clearly growing alliance and friendship and series of economic ties between Russia and another permanent member here, China, who doesn't appear to be very in league with the Western countries at this point. Not to the level of antagonism that Russia is, of course, at this point, but plenty of issues. What do you make of the significance then of that growing closeness between Russia and China in light of all these relations?
I mean, Russia and China have had a flirtation for many decades now, formerly to do with the communist commonality. I think the world is in the midst of an emerging bipolarity of a different kind than one commonly speaks of, Russia and the US, but also aligned. Autocracy versus democracy. And Russia and China, constituting 40% of the permanent members of the UN Security Council, might try to use that as a platform for furthering the interests of and the influence of autocracy.
So definitely have to stay tuned on these issues. Dan Perry, obviously, just an excuse for discussion, a bit of a debate, a bit of an analysis, upon Russia ascending to the presidency of the Security Council. So thanks for helping us decipher the moment we're in here. Again, a lot of concern being expressed around the UN. We'll see where it goes.
It isn't so easy to change it, by the way. And nor should you necessarily change something that has not kept the peace, but at least caused no harm since 1945.
That's a good point. We'll see where things go. Dan Perry, again, thanks for being with us
Pleasure.
on the subject here.